What's going on, folks? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I'm here with Michael, aka Mycorrhiza. Michael is a local hardware techno producer who works a lot with the Digitakt, Syntakt, Digatone 2, Octatrack, OXI-ONE, and a bunch of modular stuff as well. And today, Michael's going to show me how to make some really banging techno. Really quickly, will you just let me hear some of this banging techno?
Let's do it.
We're gonna dive. I want to dive into this production. Beautiful sounds. Beautiful mustache. Look at this man's mustache. Chef's kiss on that one. Absolutely a banger. That sounded beautiful. I love it. I didn't even realize the OXI-ONE had colors in the that they added. Did they add make it so you can do colors on it now? This is new to me that there's colors.
So I think it's in the config. Like when I set up the multi-track sequencers, it assigns a color to it. So I kind of don't know what I'm gonna get. I think it randomizes it when you set up a multi-track on each individual sequencer track. And okay. I think that there's a config like.
Oh no! I mean,
yeah,
it's
cool. it's not.
I just didn't realize it could do it. It makes it more of an attractive unit to me. I like.
Yeah.
That. Cool. So what I've known Michael for a while, Mycorrhiza, for quite some time now. Played a lot of local hardware shows. Played a lot of Modbang events. Goes down to Portland, plays shows there too. Love your techno production. I think you're a stellar techno artist. And what I always hear from other artists about your music when they play with you is that you are this master at crafting techno kicks on Elektron boxes.
That's very generous of him to say.
I mean, I love the sound of your kicks and your kick and your rumble, and you have a technique. Mm-hmm. You have a workflow. And today also, not to leave this out, but we're gonna have Syntakt in here. Which is what's so great about that is the Syntakt has just been, it's just on the used gear lists like crazy on the internet ever since the Digatone 2 came out. And it's so good to see it, and it's so fresh. It looks like it's brand new even. Yeah. Despite it definitely not being, because I've heard it so much at your shows. But I know you have this particular workflow when it comes to resampling and the Syntakt into the Digitakt. And I know you're an Octatrack user, which uses similar to me, just like for some like simple performance effects. And then the OXI is actually what's sequencing here. So kind of like, which is this really, I'm seeing this a lot. Torso T1s, OXI for sequencing, less using this. We do have a Euclidean on here. I don't know if you've considered using that.
Yeah, I throw that in there every once in a while too. It's a good way to put variations on two separate, like you can have kind of two separate variations of a lead or of like a percussion line just by like, you know, putting in the Euclidean sequencer on a track. So it's a cool way to get some live variation as well.
Get something new, something fresh.
And for the OXI, like I'm kind of using this as my improv sequencer for the Syntakt. And I'm relying on the internal sequencer for the Digitakt.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So I do have it set up to like, basically I have, well, I was using Digitone before, so I have like all 32 tracks like assigned to MIDI on here. But for right now, I've been using the Digitakt sequencer just for because I'm using the grid machine a lot. But going back to the kicks and stuff, it's
let's start with this process. So I'm gonna kind of like let you take over and feel free to address any questions if they pop up on the screen here. But and also feel free to ignore them while you're you're trying to talk about something. What I want to know is like, all right, so talk to me about why these machines. So here's what I want to know: why you use these machines, the process, how you have them configured, and your process of writing, and then take me through this kick drum stuff, and take me through this resampling process, and then talk to me about the live performance thing. I think that would probably take us a long time to get through.
Yeah, for sure.
And but I'm really curious to hear it all. So
yeah, cool. So why I like using the Syntakt? So I use the Syntakt a lot when I'm playing with a co-writer, co-producer, EZBOT, who's been on the stream before, friend of the stream.
Yeah, I mean, you guys go by
Sad Boys.
Sad Boys.
Yeah, Sad Boys. That's where you can find us. But I use the Syntakt a lot because it fills in a lot of like kind of odd percussive space in there. It allows for a good amount of different textures. It has, a lot of flexibility, and it, especially like with the 4 analog voices, it just provides a lot of like kind of girth to the sound.
It provides girth that I think the Digiton 2 doesn't. Still doesn't provide. Yeah. Even though I do, like, for me, I kind of made the switch, but
I'm making the switch. I'm in the process of it, but there's still a lot in the Syntakt that I think it has to offer. I know that the new Digiton 2 has like the chord mode and stuff that was just included in the recent firmware, but we also have the chord machine on here, which I do like to use. But like if we go down to some of the like, I love this analog snare sound. I know it's not always the most popular thing. I do love the hi-hat lab. It gets some really cool textures.
I like hi-hat lab.
Yeah, and like for well, anyway, I do like using the analog voices for like basses as well, and kicks, obviously. What I might do actually is, for simplicity's sake, I'll do a resampling, kind of how I resample. Well, let me see if I can do it here. Let's get a kick going. Let's try a classic kick. And we don't want the reverb on there now, but we will put reverb on here.
Yeah, I'm really curious how you do your rumble kicks.
Yeah. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on like the... Honestly, that's a nice kind of like transient kick there. Maybe we want a 909 kind of style with a triangle wave. Let's do that. So I know we have it routed to, let's make sure that level is good. Yeah. What I'll do now with the new firmware is sample it in mono. Because I think you've talked about this before. Sometimes those sub frequencies when they're in stereo can take up a lot of valuable real estate for bass lines and stuff.
Yeah.
But now that we can sample in mono on the Digitak 2, that's kind of how I like to
makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I will change this to a threshold. Probably don't need 64 steps. Probably don't even need 32. It's a one shot. And I'll just sample this. There we go.
You didn't even audition it. You're just like
I know it.
You're like, let's go. No, of course, yeah. Sounds great. Sounds perfect.
I tend to have an annoying we'll call this a Synt 909. Okay, and we'll put this on track 1. Now, what I really love to use for rumbles is like a big reverby, like subby kind of...
Instead of a delay.
Yeah.
Instead of filtered delay.
Right. Okay. And well, I kind of combine it with both. Like, I'll go into... let me take a step back. My kicks on the Digitakt typically take up four tracks. So I'll usually have the primary body of the actual kick drum, a boomy kind of reverb, In this case, I have like a looped kind of break pattern underneath that's like filtered, mostly high passed, kind of band passed, so it's not like taking up a whole bunch of space. And then I have an extra transient.
Just a transient.
Yeah. So the 4 of these, like if I were to...
And you take them out as you're playing and like bring them in as you're playing?
Yeah, it depends on what I want to have playing at the same time. So like if I... That's just by itself, the kick and rumble. I might bring down the rhythmic rumble, bring up that reverb as well. But if I want to have that kind of bass in there, I might want to take out the rhythmic rumble because this is kind of filling that role. It has that kind of push-pull of the rhythmic kind of break.
It has low end too.
Yeah, exactly. So it just depends on kind of what is going on at the same time. A lot of these, a lot of tracks can get very subby, and it's something each time I play. Like every time I play live, I learn something new about mixing in this environment of just using a couple of Elektron boxes, and every system is different too. So like you kind of have to, not only are we doing a lot of improv live when it comes to creating lines and rhythms and stuff, but you're kind of also having to improvise your mix depending and reacting to the sound system that you're playing on. So yeah. I try to make it as consistent as possible. And to me, having extra layers of kick allows you a little bit more of that flexibility to
That's a good point.
Yeah, to like react to the sound that you're hearing in the room.
Especially when you're doing synthesis.
Yeah.
Like the sound, and you're like, kind of you kind of just free balling it when you're doing synthesis live, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you turn a knob and you don't really know, especially on the Syntakt. Like for instance, if you're on dual VCO and you turn a control, you don't really know what's going to happen next so much.
Right.
Like you maybe you understand as you turn it slowly, you're going to be introducing more of a complex wave shape, but you don't know how that shape's going to react to other frequencies in your mix,
right,
because it's not mixed, right?
Yeah.
So that is good to have that flexibility.
And I mean, there is a little bit of like, with the effects block on the
right,
on the
something.
You can high pass. You can do a little bit of ducking as well for if you're using a 4-on-the-4.
I have to say, like, that is probably the biggest thing that I'm missing the most. I know that we can do it on Digatone too and on Digitact, and we can do it with envelopes basically, or with LFOs mimicking envelopes, but the ducking in the Syntakt was just so effective.
Yeah.
Like it was so easy to do and to route anything, and to use like the filter to duck sometimes as opposed to maybe the volume is also a really nice sound for ducking.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, I missed that since I've switched.
Yeah, I've been relying on the compressor in the Digitact 2 for some of that, for some of that. Yeah, I see the question.
That's
here.
a good question.
It's a good question.
Here, I'll let you address it.
Yeah. So Rumble Techno, or a Rumble in Techno, is kind of part of the low end of like the low end rhythmic kind of kick pattern that it sounds like it's tumbling along, it's rumbling, and I think hearing it kind of built up might help. Here you have a regular kick that has a lot of the transient, a lot of that initial attack. Then you have this wide kind of reverb. This could be considered a rumble because it's taking up a lot of this low end space. A lot of times you'll also add in a rhythmic element that kind of gallops along, and that's kind of like part of the rumble as well. For those three elements, I think are certainly kind of the base level of what a rumble could be. I add an extra transient in there just for a little bit of extra attack, and it's also a nice fake way of doing a high pass.
It is. That's actually pretty clever.
So I use that a lot, and you can also kind of keep it keep it going with other elements for
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, GG. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it answered my question. So the reverb rumble is that a sample or is it actual reverb on the dig attack?
No, this is a sample. So this is kind of where it gets a little complex. It's using I'm using a stereo sample here, but I make stereo and mono samples of all of these, just depending on how much how much space. Yeah.
It's a really good thing to talk about for I think other users that are maybe newer to, or even not even new, maybe even advanced Elektron users that haven't even thought about taking advantage of the monophonic aspect of sampling with these now very stereo sampler. And that's like by default wants everything in stereo now. As opposed to Dig Attack being the complete opposite, which actually the Dig Attack gave you these immensely clean mixes,
right?
Because it was mono and you had to pan elements. And now I'm like using stereo hi-hats and they're like pre-stereoed, and I actually really like them. But my mixes, they're harder to mix because of the stereo aspect of some of the samples.
Yeah, I find myself using some of the mono samples that like I imported from the Dig Attack one. And I think like for something like this, having the wide kind of stereo with this, I guess you could achieve it the exact same way with
by parameter locking it.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think like I'm still learning a lot of this stuff too with working with stereo samples in the Dig Attack 2. Like what is the best situation for either option? And what I've been focusing on more is what is the best option for this sound. Because like if it's just by itself, it kind of sounds whatever.
But you can, I feel it, Yeah. I feel that there's rumble. I feel the duck. How are you ducking it?
Yeah, it's all over here in the LFO.
So you're using a saw for your ducking.
It's a saw that ducks the volume all the way down, and then you use the fade.
This is a different way of ducking than I do it.
Yeah, this is I will say this is inspired by Jan Cook. Are you familiar with Jan Cook on YouTube?
Jan Cook makes great music.
Amazing techno musician. So this this method like requires a good amount of tuning to get the right seeing Syntakt Daddy pop up a lot. I think that's you.
I think that's you, brother.
Anyway, so when using this LFO, it's a lot of fine tuning to get the right rhythmic kind of response to the transient of the kick.
Yeah.
So there, it's sounding
so it's a more
pretty good.
surgical technique to the one that I do, because I do the exponential envelope, and I actually am really. I found yesterday I was doing it during a live session. I was doing my typical ducking scenario, and it's also dependent on the BPM, because the LFO is derived from the BPM, and so like Anyway, I was having a hard time getting it to sound the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
And because you can do ducking on some other like on with a compressor, it's way better for sure. But the problem with me doing ducking on the compressor on the Digatone 2, for instance, it's better here on the Syntakt for that ducking aspect, is because I'm not using my kicks, and it's actually using the dynamic of a kick to duck, and so I can't fake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't do fake ducking on there and with the compressor, unless you can, and I don't know about it yet. But
I don't know.
I don't see how you could. Like, you really need something. I guess you could use you could sample it afterwards and then use the ducked version as a sample. I should probably do that. That's probably the way to go.
Yeah, well, that could be close to kind of what I'm doing actually. So if we go back to the Syntakt here, what I'll do is I think we want to make sure we want to hear what this kick sample sounds like. Right. So what we have here is a lot of my LFO is all weird. Okay. What we have here is a lot of reverb and transient, right?
Okay.
I want to get rid of the transient. So what I'll go to is the audio routing. So
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So maybe kind of step by step.
Yeah, no, talk about this.
Yeah. So when you want to get a rumble, like the reverb kind of tail of a rumble, yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. We want to.
There we go. Oh,
Get in focus there, buddy.
There we go. Looks good. Yeah, we want to make sure our reverb is tuned the way that we want. I kind of want it a little bit darker, like right there.
mm-hmm.
And I use a full wet reverb here because we're going to sample it, so we'll be able to make some adjustments in the sampler as well. I just want to get the most big version of this reverb. And what I'll do is I'll go to the settings menu. If you scroll down to audio routing, you have a couple of different options here. If you scroll down to the 2 main, this will bypass the main output, and it will just be the delay reverb that is coming through the output channels. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's
You got it.
and so that completely changes the sound of this to have much less transient.
Oh, no transient.
Yeah, no transient. You still get a little bit of like that high end but that's basically just the reverb and like how we tune the reverb. So
I noticed that your rumble basses, they are a wider spectrum of rumble than mine. You heard mine for a second when you came in here, and mine is just like whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah.
It's like it's super subby, and that's partly because of the technique that I'm employing. But I like this version better. I think I need to have a little bit more of the mid highs that you have in yours.
Yeah. To be honest, I like your rumbles too because I like that kind of sine wave like gurgle that's happening like in the low end of like it's almost like it's taking the bass line. And I have some.
It is taking the bass line.
Yeah,
I
totally.
don't have bass lines in my rumble techno.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have a pattern on here that has basically the same idea where I'm just kind of having having the 4 different elements that I can mix. You can lower the amount of that reverb that's coming through and focus on the sub. And
I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, let's just sample this real quick.
Let's do
and
it.
Then I'm gonna keep it mono just so we can hear how that sounds compared to what was in here.
It should be mono. I mean, honestly,
agree.
like, don't you think? Like,
I agree.
I wasn't even thinking of this. My rumble that I recorded in my session yesterday
Mm-hmm.
was in stereo. I should have done mono because I don't want stereo subs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and I think this was just available as of this most recent. Oh my god!
I wish I could
Thanks,
highlight
guys.
messages.
Yeah.
No, keep going too.
Yes, he is into electronic music now. I guess maybe that's why we're Syntakt daddies. Anyway, let's sample this stupid thing. Okay, now we hear it totally in mono.
Wow, the space that it lost was significant.
It's crazy, right?
It like literally killed it.
Yeah, it did, but it like, I know it sounds weird, right? Just by itself, but
Like
let's
it phased out or something.
yeah. Let's see, Synt 909 verb. I don't want to spend the entire stream just typing on the on the Digitech. I kind of like typing on the Digitech.
I do too. I think these things are fun.
Yeah.
All aspects of them.
Yeah. Okay. So I've already put it in there.
So wait a second. There's a bunch of attack on that. What's going on? Are you using the LFO or the amplitude for the duck? Or both?
I guess you could use just this.
I guess once you have a rumble, we could just be using envelopes. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Well, the envelope on the...
It doesn't have that curve we want.
Yeah. Well, does it now, though?
Yeah, were we able to... I don't think you can adjust the curve. I don't think that's a thing.
It's velocity to volume?
There is a velocity. Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah, you're right. That does change it.
Well, let's see what this sounds like. No, see, there's still a click there.
Man, I like the way you did it better before.
Yeah. Let's change this back. Actually, the attack is for getting rid of the click.
Oh, got it from the rumble.
Oh. Maybe. It's not really... It's imperceptible when you have the...
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, you added a click to it anyway. In one of your tracks. The transient.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So that's kind of... yeah, I guess maybe going over the LFO page. What I do, and let's see if maybe I can challenge myself to set it, because a lot of times I use this as like a template, and then I'll just like copy paste this or make a new preset. So yeah, maybe I will challenge myself to show you how to do it from scratch.
Please.
So yeah, I like to keep it on BPM 2, and we'll change...
Oh, I got it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm on the modulation page, the LFO.
I was like, the BPM doesn't go down to 2.
Yeah. Have super slow, horrible techno at 2 BPM. I'll do negative 32. That inverts the. I mean, there's many different ways to invert the LFO shape. That way,
that inverts the shape without inverting the depth.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I bring my depth all the way up. I will go to the amp page, to the volume, have a trigger on, or have this be in the trigger mode. Mm-hmm. And I will usually play with the fade in and out until I get...
Oh, that's so clever. I like this.
Yeah.
I like the fade, like when the fade was full, like we couldn't hear it, but once the fade came in, that's so much more surgical on the duck.
Mm-hmm.
That is a better ducking technique than mine, I think.
Yeah, this is something I kind of picked up from one of Jan Cook's like YouTube videos, and he talked a little bit about it, but it was or puts mostly text on the screen. Again, check out Jan Cook too, but it does allow that kind of surgical, like precise, rhythmic response to your kick drum, and I think using the fade in option on here is a great way to get that surgical with it.
I don't know why he doesn't use why not the exponential wave still though. It's still to me.
Try it?
Yeah, please.
Like
yeah. See what happens.
We have to do it this way, though. And we have to do it this way.
Well, this is identical to what I do. Except for I don't use the fade.
And, different ways to skin a cat, I guess.
Not skinning cats.
Oh, wait, that's not part of the stream today? Oh.
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay. I wasn't invited to that one, by the way. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the beauty of these instruments is there's so many ways to do all of these things. And you kind of get to a muscle memory of how you fine tune some of these techniques, and you just get used to it. And that's kind of the way I've gotten used to is using the inverted saw LFO wave.
You fly on these machines, by the way. You're moving real fast, which is great.
I think that's because of watching a lot of your videos,
You
because
move.
you fly on them too.
You
So
are, yeah, but you're moving it, which is nice. I mean, it's nice when I see other people moving fast in the machines. Like, it just shows that you spent a lot of time. Spent a lot of time on them.
I admittedly spend a lot of time really, really working on kicks to the point where like ear fatigue becomes a very real thing. And I'm working on a kick and think, oh man, this is perfect. I love this. And then 2 seconds later, I hate it. And then
Start over.
yeah. So
That makes you get good.
I guess so. If you would consider this good, then
I do. Yeah.
yeah.
I think it sounds awesome.
Cool.
Take me further. Like, so
Yeah.
what's the next stage?
The next stage, I mean, really for the transient, I kind of like to just use whatever sample I just took off of the Syntakt or whatever you decide to sample. And
Just make a little decay envelope on it or something.
what do I do? High pass it. Yeah,
Yeah.
little decay envelope. I mean, there's still a little bit of.
So we did this one from scratch. Right?
Which one?
This whole thing.
If I
We sampled that kick.
I
Then
add
you
this
sampled
there.
the rumble
yeah
because you did that, and then you did this. So what's the last stage is to make the rhythm.
yeah.
Okay.
And so why don't we try this? Let me see what this is. All right. Okay. We don't want that. We want to add this back into the audio routing. Remove some of this. I might shorten the. I mean, we'll just sample that.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll sample this at 64 steps. This will get into kind of how I like to. I would say, to take a step back, I would say that this workflow right now is more of my kind of writing and production workflow. I tend to want to figure all this stuff out before I go out and perform. So I'm building a bunch of loops and putting them into the Digitact, and then I'll kind of use the grid machines to improvise with them. And we'll go more into that in a little bit. But what I'll do here is kind of a more recent technique that I was using, that I was coming up with. And I'm taking this pattern on the OXI-ONE, which was the bass line that I was using earlier. And now I've just kind of
Repurposed it for the kick.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say cannibalized it for the kick. I guess we're going to take this now.
Nice.
Yeah. And actually, if you notice, there was a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning there. That's because I did threshold. I'm gonna change this to play for folks that are maybe kind of newer to the Digitech 2 and the sampling workflow. I know you've talked about this, but you have a couple different options for how you want to start sampling. And the record start option on the sampling page can be either a level threshold or a volume threshold, or it can just be when the machine starts to play. And so I want to do that because I don't want any space before, like, even if it's like a micro timing second of a space before there, I just want it to start.
Absolutely.
And I guess it doesn't need to be 64 steps, but that's just kind of how I like to use.
Sounds good.
All right, so we'll call this Syntakt 9.
Okay.
How's the chat doing?
Ybot at the bottom there.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Ybot.
Cheers, my friend.
What are we calling this? I'm going to call it Gallop.
I'm pretty sure he's going to go over channel structure of the machines, Derek, because that is a good question. I think that's important.
Channel structure.
Not right now. You can keep
Okay,
doing what you're doing.
All right, let's just see what this sounds like down here. And I'll go over the machine that I'm using on this as well. I'm using the stretch machine. I recorded 4 bars of material, so I want that to stretch over the entire 4 bars. And so that's kind of what it's at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you just hold it down there, and I have it filtered to still have a little bit of low end in there, but like kind of taking up some more low mids, cutting off some of the highs as well. What else is on here? Some overdrive, a little bit of reverb and delay. Do I
And
actually
then you're
have
doing
this?
the ducking again? Oh, it looks
This-
like you have it doing some panning stuff.
Well, I actually realized that I probably just set this and didn't do anything with it.
Right, because the depth's at 0.
Yeah, but I can do a little bit there. Let's see. Oh wait, we want this muted. This has some noise in it. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of that kind of rhythmic rumble.
Rumble dog.
Rumble dog.
Techno dog.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you a question. I think that the way this interacts with the kick, it's a little busy. I'm wondering if this is actually something that I can.
Why don't you duck it?
Yeah.
You know what you could do is because what I'm hearing in my head when I hear this rhythm is I'm hearing like silence for a 16th note, like on the kick. So what I could do, just as an idea, would be to just put a trigs on 4 on the floor on it that silence it not like this, but you know, like trig locks.
Yeah.
That silence it on the kick pattern. Then bring it back.
Oh, I see.
This
Yeah.
is an idea. I don't know. Like,
Well,
it might be a good one.
Oh, whoops. What have I done? I just cleared it. Nice. Yeah, let's see how this works. Well, you need a trig after it to.
You'll need a
re-engage it.
trig to bring the. Well, no. If this one's currently set up, these will just duck and then.
Okay.
Yeah, you might want to put a trig to bring the volume up if you were gonna have it duck on that one.
I think that one.
Trig.
This is just gonna start it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
And what I'll actually do is this.
This is what I like seeing.
The
It's just like people moving with the copy paste because this is like I'm spending the whole time like trig copy so much copy paste.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many like everything can be copied and pasted, which is awesome. So like, well, we can get into that in a little bit. Let's see what this sounds like.
Let's see if it worked.
It did not.
Well, it's because we need to bring the volume back up.
Yeah. So, should we do this? Like that? No.
No, I was thinking more like if I can.
Yeah.
If I may, more like oops. So copy this.
Oh yeah,
paste.
yeah.
This one is the like the inversion.
Yeah.
Like this one brought it down. This one's volume is up.
Yeah.
You know, we could just copy and go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seemed to work.
And then we're doing this. Okay.
Yeah, that seemed to.
Yeah.
That seemed to work.
Cool. See, we're learning on the spot.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Sponsor me. Sponsor us. Here we go.
Sponsor him.
Sponsor him. Lovely.
Yeah. Should we maybe check in with the chat? I've seen a lot of stuff going by, but
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Okay.
I'm kind of like I'm still curious. So I like this
Yeah.
was really cool. I'm gonna implement some of your workflow into mine for my show this week. I want to. So there was a question earlier about like where do you host your elements?
Hmm.
How do you have things set up? Like what's going on? How are the machines set up on your Syntakt? How are the
Yeah.
machines set up on your Digitact? Right now we've been used to Digitact to sample, create Rumble,
Hmm.
which is on Digitact, but like most
Yeah.
of the noise, most of like the techno vibe besides the Rumble that's happening over here, right?
Yeah. Well, it's starting over here, then I'm sampling it. So yeah, we can go into kind of like maybe some of the sounds that are on here. Um, and in fact, like I'm going to try something scary.
Uh-oh.
That's not what I wanted. I'm going to go to I was telling Matthew earlier, I was trying to make a 303 sound on the Syntakt and I was failing at that. So we're going to not use that. And I'm going to use this as a baseline. So on the Syntakt, there's 8 digital voices, 4 analog voices. I like to use the analog voices for basses, for kicks, like we were kind of the workflow that we were going through earlier. Claps and snares, I think, sound very good.
That was a nice, like, clappy snare.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a mix between the two.
it has a little bit of that like that very short clap delay on there. Then I also just have some weird techno noises as well that you can make with like this was the most, I think, the most recent firmware that added the chip machine.
Oh, is that what that is? Man, I need to dive back into my Syntakt.
Yeah, this was one that I created a little while ago, so I would need some time to kind of recreate something like this. But then I love the dual VCO for like kind of wonky techno basses, like yeah, like that. And like you were talking about earlier,
Yeah, that's nice.
sometimes we'll have like depending on where you put the modulation, you'll get some odd like frequency spectrum kind of things. Yeah.
It's like the sidebands get exposed and then they come back and they're like more exposed. Dude, how sick is that feature? When you're in mute mode, dude, because like, you know how I do my workflow where I have like one track up here, like, or a kit here and a kit here. And then you can literally hold function and just run your fingers across and it just flips kits.
Yeah.
God, it's sick.
Last week or the week before, I think whenever the last Modbang was, Hecklifter played.
Yeah.
And great, also local Seattle techno musician. And I was standing right in front of him, and he was just the entire time, like fully
just slamming back and forth between kits.
Yeah.
You can also totally screw shit up pretty hard doing it, but
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Which I do.
But yeah. So anyway, maybe back to the Syntakt here. I usually like to have like a bass on 9 and maybe like a digital bass voice on 1 up here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think my one track button here double triggers every once in a while, so I need to get it fixed.
That sucks.
But ultimately, I'm using the sequencer or sequencing it with the OXI, so it's not that. This one I have just kind of whoops.
Maybe we should zoom out a little bit. So we got the
OXI in here.
The OXI is pretty important for your workflow.
Yeah. So this is just a weird kind of voice. It's a little loud. Like it should be a little further back in the mix, I think. Yeah, and this is just kind of some texture for some
eerie atonal.
Yeah, exactly. Just some kind of nonsense in the background, and it's good for transitions and stuff, and
breakdowns.
Yeah.
Sad whale sounds. You nailed it, Toby.
Yeah, sad whale sounds. What else we got here?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, this is. Oh, for a while, I was trying to use the Syntakt for like anti-gas, right? Like I wanted a defam really bad. I wanted a defam really bad, and I was thinking, well, how can I make a defam in the Syntakt? I don't think that this is this patch, but it is something. Okay. I wanted to look into kind of what the defam sounded like, what the parameters on there were, like how it made sounds, and see how I could recreate that in the Syntakt. And
Smart.
I was using I think this is the Bits machine. Yeah, the Bits machine, because if you're familiar with the defam, it has like the triangle and I believe square. I don't know. It has the dual VCOs, the dual oscillators, and it also has like a noise circuit as well. And so having the option to balance between the VCO portion of the Bits machine and the noise portion of the Bits machine gets you a little bit of that kind of, like, you can get some percussive kind of wonky modular modulated kind of percussive sounds. We'll see how this sounds. It's very filtered, but
Oh yeah, I hear.
Yeah.
I hear what you mean.
and I think that there's some pieces of the DFAM, like the FM on the DFAM is a little harder to achieve with this method. I think I have another preset that uses like square wave modulation. Oh, maybe this is it. Yeah. Okay, never mind. This is on the chord. Let's go back to the DFAM one. But some of like the joy of using the DFAM is like using the FM kind of the FM fader or the FM knob. And you do have to kind of like work pretty hard to get it to sound like that with this. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, look, there's the Euclidean.
Oh, you were using it. Nice. I love the blue trigs too.
All right. Okay. Having we talked about this a little earlier. Having 2 generations of Elektron boxes is a little tough for the muscle memory.
It's what's insane is that they're 2 generations. It's like a year apart.
I know. What track is this? Oh, track 3. So let's just see. Ooh. Out of context, it's a little harsh. In context, it's a little harsh too.
I love this. What's this? What's on that track? Let me see this sequence.
And this is just with it's a loop that I took from the Digitone.
Cool.
This is the other kind of part of the workflow that I was going to talk about.
This is. I'm very interested in this
Yeah.
part. But yeah, I'm dealing with you.
No. Actually, it might be cool to take like this fake DFAM and sample it and show you kind of what that workflow looks like. I think it's
Please do.
Well, we were talking about how we set up the channels. Let's finish that. Yeah. So I would say my workflow on the Syntakt is a little bit more chaotic than it is on the Digitakt. It really depends on like, for the 4 analog channels, I have kind of going from lowest to highest voices from left to right. So 9 will be my if it's not my kick, it'll be my bass. 10 will be a kind of more low mid or like mid highs kind of lead. 11 will typically be a snare, and because the 12th channel has the hi-hats, like that's usually what it's reserved for. And in this case, I have the hi-hat lab, and really just using it for some extra noise. You know,
This is a good groove.
it's fun.
like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about bringing the Syntakt on, because I've been in Digitone land and then brought it back out and I was like, oh wait,
There's
do
just
love the
sounds on there
Syntakt.
that
Yeah.
are like so unique to the Syntakt.
Yeah, and I think the The Rhythm has the hi-hat lab as well, but I don't have a Rhythm, so I'm using this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I structure the analog voices of the Syntakt. The digital voices are a little less structured. I will kind of just use these for percussive and some lead voices as well. Some weird sounds.
Cool.
Yeah. What is this one? Let's do this. That's 6. Just a weird noise.
That's all techno is. Bunch of weird noises. And
Just
that's what I like about it.
same. It's sound design with like a pulse.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, it's
yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, I think like
How eloquent.
well, no, the original, like, if I'm not mistaken, like Juan Atkins and like the Belleville 3 in Detroit or whatever said that they wanted to put soul into the machines, which is I think like where the Detroit techno sound really came from. And you know, it's helpful to know the history of these genres, because like you want to try and respect that, and also like maybe come up with your own way of how you interpret that. And
Very well said.
and there's a lot of like that. I know Circo talks a lot about live sound design as kind of being the improvisational technique for an improv techno set. And that's a lot of what I like to do. And, you know, with these machines specifically, with the new generation, you can use the Perform kit to make adjustments to your sounds and then have them revert back. You can also use the what is it called? The flash save, basically the temporary
save.
Yeah, temporary save.
Which can be quite dangerous.
It can be. I also did you know that I just found this out recently.
You can reload windows.
You can if you just hold down track, you make all these changes, and then
You just learned that?
yeah, because I was doing all of that, and then
hilarious.
and then I was doing function no.
Oh, that is like the only dude for years. That was the only performance trick we had.
Really?
On the Dig Attack 1 and the Digatone? Yeah.
I think I was.
Control All.
That was.
It's called
maybe-
Control All. You have the Control All configuration in there. Have you looked at that?
Oh yeah. No. I
that
know
what you're
about the
talking-
control all. I'm
Oh,
talking
we're talking-
about reverting it back.
Oh,
You can
wait, no, tell me.
if you hold down track and let's just look at some.
You might be telling me something I don't know, actually.
Okay, let's look at these. All right, you have this. If you don't let go of track, you can press no, and it you don't have to worry about overwriting your save, basically. Like rather than saving, doing this, letting go, and doing function no, you can do it all in one motion if you just keep the track button held down.
Cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
I totally was just like, you don't know that? No, but you did. And that is actually this is cool. This is great. It's kind of like Perform Kit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the poor man's Perform Kit.
Yeah, which I think it works on here. I know. Maybe I just save it then I guess. Well, I just reloaded it. Didn't you do that yesterday?
Yep. You just cooked the whole thing?
No.
Because we hadn't saved it?
No, I think I had saved it before.
Oh, okay, cool. I did that yesterday, yeah. I was pretty pissed.
Toby feels betrayed by something. Okay, going back to structure here. I think maybe the Digitac structure might be a little bit more interesting. But
Sure.
yeah, basically I'm using these top 8 voices for more leads and percussive voices.
Well, like, okay. So you don't have like a structure over on your Syntakt side? It's kind of just like these tracks can just be an amalgamation of the sound,
Yeah.
whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah, this is
But over here, it's very structured.
Yeah, it's a lot more structured over here. I would say that this is less structured because I'm almost using it as like a multi-voice synth.
It's like a modular.
Yeah. And, you know, like if I were to...
Plus, it doesn't need structure because you're sequencing it. This is only triggering this, right?
Yeah, it's set up to trigger this, but I'm just not using that right now because for the Digitact, I like using the sequencer more. For improvisation, yes, we have the Euclidean sequencers, but some of the stuff that it lacks is, I know in these new boxes you can like lock your keys, and so you can like if I want to be in C Phrygian, I can lock that here so that my keyboard is only playing C Phrygian, and the notes that I can choose on the trig page are only C Phrygian. Yeah. I don't think you can do that on here yet. I'm not 100% sure. I have it set to this.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
But I think it's something that's in the setup page here. So anyway,
yeah, there's a personalized setting that says like an inversion, or where you push the knob and it selects the notes, or you turn the knob and selects notes. You can invert it to be one way or the other. But either way, that is how it works when you have a keyboard scale set.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So where were we?
So when you're jamming on your Syntakt, you are what do you do? Like what are you doing on here in particular? Like what's happening with the OXI and the Syntakt? Like what's the relationship between these two? So like what are you programming on here? Like are they odd sequences? Are they even sequences? Do they have randomization? Do they have some sort of parameter locking thing that's going on? And are you using your hands here and futzing with your sounds in a live setting? Like some particular machines that you use?
Yeah, so what I have on the OXI-ONE is typically some melodic or rhythmic sequences that are either randomized or created very quickly. Then what I'll do is, using the save feature, the temporary save feature on here, is I will go to a sound, find, and this is like where you have to kind of get familiar with your sounds before a performance. This is where like the practice comes in, and right now I don't know exactly what everything does on these because it's been a while since I've played in this with this set, but you go to like your sound design parameters that will make kind of the biggest change, and then you slowly kind of work through those across like 8 bars or 16 bars or something, and then drop out the kick, then revert it all back, and that's kind of where you get the like push and pull of that tension and release for a techno set. So a lot of the what I explored also is the fourth knob here on the OXI-ONE can be set to send MIDI CC. So if you have modulation wheel, breath control, any of those kind of macro like MIDI CC options set up on the Syntakt, you can just change so that this, for each track, can adjust those MIDI CC values.
Oh, cool.
Which is a really cool way of having to do less, messing around with the knobs on the actual device, and having kind of more of a macro control for each of these. But
it's a safer scenario.
It's safer. Maybe a little less fun. I kind of like using all the different knobs on here. So yeah, I think maybe looking at a couple examples here. So this is just a couple of different percussive patches here.
Is this something that you would sample into the Digitact and chop?
Yeah.
Like a percussive patch? Okay.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that after this, but I'll kind of show like what this looks like. This is maybe a too percussive of a sound to have a bigger difference. Let's see what this is.
That sounds cool.
And then if I want to, I can come up to channel 6, which is the the sequence that's playing up there, and there's a bunch of randomized options for
Oh, on here.
on here.
Oh,
And-
and when you said randomized, I thought it was Syntakt. Like
No.
sound design randomization.
Yes, I can do that. Well, I mean, I guess you could do and see what that sounds like. Like this is the chord voice, so this would be a little
It would
dangerous.
definitely-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Danger.
yeah, but what I'll do here is take a look at the OXI-ONE sequence randomizer. The cool thing about the OXI-ONE is that, yes, you can generate new rhythms, but let's say I like the rhythm. I just want to randomize the pitch. You can go down to the density option on the randomized generator and change it just to pitch. I don't know if we'll be able to see that here,
Probably
but
not.
that's okay. But just know if you do have an OXI-ONE and you use the random generator, you can just randomize the pitch.
Yeah, either way, you can't see it.
Yeah. But there's like an option there, so like,
It's working, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that sounds good.
yeah, I kind of like that better actually. That sound.
I think I do too.
And then, you know, we can go through.
Go through the wavetable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Those hats are very stereo.
Yeah, they are very stereo.
I like it.
Maybe this is a good kind of transition into the structure of the Digitakt. Or maybe, actually, why don't we do this? Why don't we sample this little,
Oh yeah. I want to know how you do this process.
yeah,
Like what is inspiring you? That's a nice little pluck.
it is. What is this? Okay,
That's
why
cool.
don't we do this? Yeah.
That's a sick little line.
Yeah. I apparently
Thanks,
randomized
Oxy.
this. Huh?
Thanks, Oxy.
Thanks, Oxy.
Content.
The other cool thing with the Oxy is on this track having the option to, oh wait, that's the velocity, to change the notes via, like, rather than having to hold and dial in each note. If you click this second option here, your root note for the scale that you're in is highlighted here, and all of your other notes are within the scale. Above or below that, you can move your offset here so that, you know,
Oh.
let's say I wanted to have a note an octave up, you could scroll up, do that. It's useful for like programming things live as well. If you get let's say you get a rhythm that you really like, but you want to make a couple of adjustments to notes, especially for Phrygian, when like the big thing about the Phrygian is the flat two, like the note that is just a half step above the root note is what gives Phrygian that kind of dark.
You're
Kinda-
a guitar player.
Yes.
You know music theory pretty well.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That's what I went to school for.
You went to school for music theory.
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Or-
Oh,
Yeah. Composition. So
nice.
yeah.
I went to school for music production, but we did theory, but I don't remember my like scales as well.
Mm,
But it's nice to hear you just being like that's the flat
Um,
two or whatever.
It's like the like obsessive nerdy thing that happened in school where it's like, oh wow, this is really cool and
Oh no,
interesting.
I love
and-
composition is really cool, and it's cool that this has some cool features that
Yeah.
like kind of hone in on your on some of your skills you practiced from music school.
Mhm.
I'm working on this Digatone tutorial video on passing chords, on how
Oh.
to use so like doing the 2-5-1 and like
Yeah. Oh.
leaving your scale and going in, because I enjoy music. I nerd out on
Mhm.
theory as well, but anyway,
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that.
it'll be fun. It'll be a fun one.
But yeah, so with the OXI-ONE, being able to set a scale is very useful, and I find that the Phrygian scale works really well with Techno because of that flat
What
two.
are you, Circo or something?
Is he a Phrygian?
He always
Homie.
works in E Phrygian.
Oh, yeah. I could talk about keys and stuff like that. Like I
Why
like
are
to have.
some keys better than other keys for techno.
I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. Okay. What I do know is I like to change keys throughout a set. Like I don't like to perform in one key because it gives you kind of a distinct feel that you're in a different track when you change to a new key.
Absolutely.
You can have some similar sounds. And I think just changing a track and changing the key gives a completely different energy, and it's kind of revitalizing for an audience to hear like, okay, well, we're definitely in something new and different, even though like we're in the language of techno, it still sounds different because you're in a different key. Yeah, I'm not too sure about like what keys work best like with techno. I'm sure that certain frequencies, I think like F is considered a good key.
G minor is considered like a really popular electronic music key.
Yeah. I wonder if that has to do with like frequency response of certain subs or like club venues or something like that. Yeah.
I don't, when I do write in G minor, like techno in G minor, or I write in F, G minor, and a lot of people write in C minor, which I think is just literally because I think most people are writing in C minor, and that's just because it's already set to C, and you just change it to minor, and so it's the fastest route to darkness.
Yeah, I do like writing in C, to be honest, but usually
there's
F.
nothing wrong with it.
No. I usually will write a set from like C to like D to F, like three distinct kind of key centers for an entire set, and that's typically how I'll write that. But yeah, so for this line, I guess it's just kind of like an odd Phrygian thing that's kind of bouncing between oh my god, bouncing between like the root note, the flat 2, and then the flat 7 there. So like it's just hovering around that kind of
a lot of dissonant tones in the key.
And I'm not actually, oh wait, I am.
That's probably why Serco likes using it, and why people like using the Phrygian scale, is because it has these kind of like multiple dissonant notes in it that really play well with. They sound very minor, but they sound even more than minor. They sound diminished.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think maybe recently, Jeremy Redmayne's Recording did like a video about keys that he likes to use.
Drake likes A minor.
Oh wow, that's the Not Like Us lyric. Yeah, Phrygian dominant is the is a kind of popular option as well, because there's more half steps in there, and there's a little bit, I don't remember exactly the dominant part of it, but I think it's,
I guess it would be that there's more half steps.
Yeah.
I guess the more half steps that you have, the more dissonant the key will sound.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because if you think about like just chromatic, like all 12 notes, it's going to sound dissonant because there's no structure to it really. Yeah. There is still structure to, like Hi-Fi is saying here, the Phrygian dominant has those minor thirds. Like typically we associate a minor third with a darker kind of mood, and so adding some half steps into that as well will give a little bit of tension and darkness.
Okay, I have a weird question for you. Since we can talk theory, I can't always talk theory with people that have guests. When I have guests on here, so I like it. Tell me, what sounds darker to you, a minor 7 or a major 7?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because I don't think either of them sound very dark to me.
They both sound somber, melancholy.
Yeah,
but one of them sounds less melancholy than the other to me. I'm just curious.
That's a minor 7. So
minor 7 sounds cheerful to me.
It does, and I think that's because like if you look at it, like the way it's written on a keyboard is that the top 3 notes are a major are a major triad. So you have a major triad on top of a minor triad, whereas the top of a major 7
minors.
Yeah,
the minor triad.
And
so that's what really stands out in the major 7 is the minor triad.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear, because every time I play a major 7, I'm like, because I always associate major chords with like cheerful, happy, but you do a major 7, major 7s are not cheerful, happy. They're good for dub techno. Like a dub techno, a major 7 is really great. A minor 7 in dub techno sounds like you're playing house.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a weird, I don't know. It's a sub conversation, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, I see Hi-Fi's talking some jazz chords here.
Hi-Fi is a friend of the chat here and very theory knowledgeable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of cool, I mean, you know, the chord voice on here has all these.
It has the structures.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the chord save feature like the Digiton 2 does, which is really what's going to allow you to like.
That's the minor major 7 that they're talking about, which is like pure dissonance, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it doesn't have the chord save feature, which is so much fun.
Yeah.
On the.
You've been playing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Well, that was a real sidetrack, but I like these kind of tangents because they're topics that I don't get to discuss on the stream very often with people who, because not everybody's interested in music theory. And in fact, I'd say like, here's just like a little side rant, is that we buy these boxes partly because we don't have to know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I think that's great. I don't think you need to know music theory. I think there's some advantages to learning a couple of tricks. Like we're talking about this Phrygian, we're talking about the scale thing. Like we're talking about how to use the Syntakt, but what notes to program on the Syntakt is as important as the Syntakt itself, right?
Yeah.
When we're writing stuff that we're trying to express a certain feeling. Techno, often the techno you write has a melancholy darkness to it. Some people have a little bit of a lighter vibe. Sometimes, but for the most part, techno is a darker, eerie, kind of like sexy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like this intimate, I want to get close to you feeling, especially at a show.
Yeah.
Right? You want to dance, you want to like, it makes you want to move your body.
Yeah.
But I think certain scales make you want to move your body in a certain way. You know what I mean? They make you want to. And I feel like we're talking about these half steps, and that the tonality that creates in this scale has a lot to do with the sound that you're generating from your techno.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a cool conversation because it's not like I mean I'll say like for sometimes when I'm writing with Toby, who was in the chat here earlier, for a sad boy set, we won't use as many Phrygian like patterns in like a purely Phrygian scale. We'll use like just a normal minor Aeolian scale, and that kind of is a little bit lighter and a little bit brighter because it doesn't have that minor second in there. It has just a normal 1-2 flat 3 in the scale, and it gives you just some different flavors. So it is interesting how these have different effects on like the tone of a set, like the not the sound tone of a set, but the like emotional tone of a set. Yeah. So yeah, it's really cool. So anyway, we're in
sorry, we're back.
No, we're good. C Phrygian, but also doing some weird like changing some of the ratios here and getting some of the odd like atonal kind of sounds as well. Should we sample that?
I think that'd be a great one for you to show that.
Yeah. Let's see what I want to replace. We'll replace that. All right, this one we do one in stereo. I will do play and just make sure everything else is muted. Okay. This might be one that's just cooler on the Syntakt. Like if I were to perform this, I would probably keep this voice on the Syntakt, but for the sake of demonstration, I'll show what it looks like on here.
And you can also demonstrate how awesome sampling this. I know that the way that I have things routed, so this is something that's kind of cool. And I know I haven't explained it to you. I'm sure you figured it out because it's not rocket science here. But the way that I have things routed on the table, so Michael brought over these. This is his machines. This is my Octatrack. We're just routed into it for the sake of simplicity. But what's going on is my outputs go into my interface on both these machines, and then I have an output from the interface that comes back into my Digitact, and then I have two outputs from my interface that come back into my Octatrack, and then I have the output of my Octatrack. Right?
Yeah.
So I have this kind of a complex setup, but the way it works is that when I want to sample, say I want to sample this into here, I just click a button.
Yeah.
And this is suddenly routed into this, even though it's still routed into this and that's, and everything's separately going into its own channels. And it was kind of expensive to build this setup, but the investment has been such a huge payoff for me because everything in the studio now is just a button press away from going into my sampler.
Yeah, it's when I have the space for a studio, like eventually, hopefully, I would love to like spin that investment because it contributes to the fun factor, right?
Does. Like it makes this fast.
It makes it fast, but yeah, and instantaneous, and like to me that's really fun because I can just like I could do this live if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, like I could just have it going and try and time it as well as possible. I wish there'd be an option.
Actually, there is a trick. If you use one of these suckers.
Oh,
if you use one of these suckers, you can actually send the play trigger, but not the actual play trigger. It's hard to, I don't even know what to call it, but you can send a trigger and it will start the recorder live.
Oh, that's really cool. We used one of these actually in the band I was playing in before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you have to have some sort of
global metronome.
Yeah. So yeah, those are really cool. And I know that developer is also very hands-on with the people that use it as well.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
That's good. Yeah.
Let's do it. Chop it up.
Let's do it. Let's chop this up. Okay, I think I've already assigned it here. So for maybe people that were just joining, I sampled a 64-step sequence from the Syntakt into the Digitakt, and I put it into track 6, which is set as a grid machine. I don't know if do we maybe want to.
Yeah, you're right.
Good call.
Okay, yeah, looks focused. So now on the Digitakt, I've taken the sequence, sampled it. I'll go ahead and delete that. And if we look at the slices here, I have it in a 64 slice grid, and this kind of allows me to not have as many clicks and pops and stuff like as a result of using the grid slices. And it just makes it so that any sequence that I have on here, even this simple, like this is just, I have it set to 8 steps. Even when I play this and I can change these slices around, it'll still work pretty seamlessly. So let's see what this sounds like right now. So that's
wow,
just
this is impressively like, this sounds good.
it just kind of works, and I think it's just because you're using these 64 steps on this side and then having it set to 64 slices. So if I go here on the source page, if you press the yes button, you have an option to create linear locks, which it locks the steps linearly or in sequential order, or random locks. And so when I want to improvise and just change it,
Oh, dude, drop that kick right now. We're at a great workflow. Oh,
it's easy.
dude. Here we go. God, that line is really good. That came from the Digatone.
This line?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, it's not even a bass line. It's just something that I put into the grid machine and
Did the same thing.
dropped it down an octave.
Yeah.
It's a really fun workflow. Like you fly through it. You can just move really quickly. Like this is the thing that we just came up with, and let's see what the next one sounds like. Oh,
We're on the wrong track.
am I?
Yeah. You just made a new
Oh.
baseline, I think.
Here, let's do this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great separation. of your elements in terms of tonality.
Oh,
Like you really have like there we got high mids, we got highs, we got lows, we got lows.
Yeah.
And like you can really hear that those elements they are stacked.
yeah. And so this is kind of a good transition into how the channels are set up on the Digitakt.
Okay.
Similar to how I was watching your stream yesterday for a little bit, and you were talking about your structure of like the top set kind of, or the top 8 tracks being a kit, the bottom 8 tracks being a kit. I kind of do something similar, but mostly on the last 8. I kind of cut it in half this way.
Mm-hmm.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12 are all my percussion elements. And then my tonal elements and other kind of textures are 5, 6, 7, 8, 13 through 16. So, like at the beginning of the stream, we were talking about the kick workflow and kind of how I layer kicks. I have the 4 kick layers on 1, 2, 9, and 10. 1 being the body with a little bit of the transient as well. 2 being the reverbed kind of rumble. 9 being a we'll have to wait for this to come back to the bar, or we can just do this. 9 being the rhythmic portion of the rumble, that kind of galloping, like low mids, rhythmic break that's under there, and then 10 as the transient. So you can get a mix of all sorts of different kind of textures just with having these 4 kick tracks, and it allows you to take certain portions of your kick out when you're bringing in things like bass lines. If you don't want to crowd the bass subs, then you can take out the boomy reverb. Or if you don't want to focus on the rhythm that much, then you can kind of take out the rhythmic portion. It's just a little bit more flexibility, but it does take up 4 tracks.
I don't think it's a problem.
I don't
You
either.
got lots of tracks.
Yeah. And then the remaining, I have like my hats rhythms here. Close hat on 11. And then close / open upbeat or offbeat. And then I have this
Like
kind of set up.
something.
That's what I would normally do. What I was doing, let's see.
Oh, you're just like it's just choking.
Yeah,
Nice.
basically.
Sounds good.
And I was doing it. I was doing it to kind of double this rhythm in the snare, to kind of like give a little bit of that, I don't know, just a little bit of extra groove to the whole thing.
Like,
and then I'll have like a,
is this on the 4? Oh no, it's on the off.
yeah, it's on the off, but that sounds annoying
Do
by
you throw
itself.
trigs down while you're playing live?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Wait, actually. Okay. Anyway, so those are my my percussive and the kind of core groove of the Digitakt workflow, I guess, for live performance. Then on 5 and 13, I'll usually have 2 separate bass lines, kind of having 2 options. So this is just like a sine wave.
Single cycle, yeah.
Yeah.
Some sort of sine.
Yeah, I think it's like the sub oscillator single cycle wave form on the like in the factory presets. And then this is the kind of more fun like thing that I sampled from the Syntakt. 6 and 14 are kind of like the leads and the plucky kind of. Yeah, this is actually just a sample of some rocks that I got a while ago.
Rocks?
Like I just like, yeah, I went like a field recording of some rocks, like hitting them together and like scraping them on each other.
Oh, nice. Wow, they sound like bells.
Yeah. What is 7?
Were you going rock hounding?
Rock hounding?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, you go look for rocks.
Yeah, I guess that's what we were doing.
Mm.
I think it was just with my iPhone. 7 and 15 are flexible, but I'm using them right now for like vocal samples, and I like to use. Oh wait, this is not set up correctly. I'll use 15.
Aaron, I do not have a tutorial on it. Maybe I could do it at some point. Those tutorials, they're just so low on the fun to make, firstly, and then two, it's not gonna be something that people do, I don't think, very often, because it's just too expensive. Like, it's something you do further in the game for most people. I don't know, but I can tell you, if you join the Discord, I'll explain it if you want. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just kind of getting to the last couple of tracks here. Again, as you've seen, like, I kind of pair items not right next to each other, but on top of each other. So 5 and 13 are my basses. These are my leads. I have some vocal samples here, which I like to take, like sci-fi and horror kind of like radio casts from archive.com or whatever, and just record those into here. And, you know, it's just kind of like that.
The Realm of Death. Okay, I think it's about time that you play us something.
To play what?
Are you down to play?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, these are just some sounds that I have together, so this won't be like rehearsed. It's just going to be kind of like a improv performance.
If you're down with doing a little improv for us,
I'd love to like hear this. Like I understand your setup.
Mm-hmm.
I understand your workflow. I understand what's going on here, and I understand what's going on here. And I know we're just using a high pass here, and I think I'm down to hear it.
Yeah, let's do it. Why don't we? Yeah, let's do this one because it has like all the new sounds. Yeah, the Syntakt does get very, very hot. Let's see if we can get another.
Don't go to sleep tonight. It could cost you money. Because right now, CNC stereo. Don't go to sleep tonight. It could cost you. Don't go to sleep tonight. It could cost you money. Because right now, don't go to sleep limitless.
Wow. Dude, stellar performance. Like,
Thank you.
could have went on forever.
Yeah.
Like, I was really feeling it. Like, I probably could have just listened to that for like a good half hour or longer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had some other patterns too. So that was 2 patterns of 4 that I had like kind of
Nice.
ready. So
Okay.
I think that kind of just goes to show, like you were explaining yesterday with your workflow, is having just like a couple of elements and not oversaturating things. I wasn't using the Syntakt as much as I probably would have or should have been using, because we've been talking about it so much, but it added a couple of little elements, and just having those things prepared on the Digitac just makes it easy to kind of work through. And yeah, I don't know, it's fun. It's a really fun workflow.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thanks for
First,
having me.
for just like sharing your music, but second, sharing your workflow tips. Even the theory stuff was really cool to explore, but just your whole workflow is so this is what I love. This is what I really love about, for one, having artists come on and like sharing this space with me and like getting to have a deep discussion about like my favorite machines, is that I get to see this other perspective. Like, you are approaching these machines in a way that I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, like, we have a lot of similarities. Like, there's some overlap. You can't help but have that happen, right?
Yeah.
But like, you definitely have your thing. You have your workflow. You do the 4 tracks with the kick. That's your thing. That's not my thing. Like, you use the OXI for more generative improv sequencing, which is something that I'm like, I only dabble in the generative improv stuff. So it's like, that's definitely further out of my wheelhouse. Like, I'm less comfortable than you are with that. And just to watch you flow so seamlessly, and then the music to follow, nailing it on those transitions, nailing on these improv changes, is just so sick, man. Like, you really do a great job. Like, this sounds awesome.
So, well, thank you. That it's very flattering. I really appreciate it. I mean, and not to completely turn around and glaze you for all this, but you're giving a lot of people space like to do this. Not only, you know, within the community in Seattle, we have the Modbang community and have a bunch of live shows, but you're bringing artists on your stream and allowing them to talk about all these different workflows and styles of music. And it's just a really cool, we have an awesome community, and we're very grateful to have you as one of the pillars of that community and like sharing this space with us. Like that's awesome.
It's the coolest thing in the world to just get together.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I really like hanging out with you. Yeah. I like that our conversations bounce, like they go really well, but I also love how well you're telling me how to use these machines. Your description on how to do this translated to me in a way that felt easy and obvious to me. And I hope that's really helpful for the community that's watching, so that they were able to learn from you in a way that made sense, instead of having to like scratch your head for so long. How do I do this? Is bananas, man. Like, this is a crazy thing to look at. Like, if you're new to hardware electronic music, or you're just new to electronic music and you saw this setup, for one, you'd be like, how much does this cost? Well, we're talking tariffs now, but like, it's going to cost a lot more starting tomorrow. And so, yeah, by the way, all this stuff is going to be expensive, more expensive, starting tomorrow. Buy your stuff today, right?
Do it.
That is, the tariffs start tomorrow. So if you want this stuff, get it now. And there is affiliate links in my stuff. But besides that, you don't have to use them. Just get your Elektron stuff. Get your stuff today.
And LaCroix, sponsor him.
And also sponsor me, LaCroix. We need all the money we can get. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I love this. I'm so glad to have you on. I've been talking to you about months and months of trying to get you on here. Not trying to, but like planning this, finding some time for you. Do you taking a day off to come in here? Much gratitude for that. I know that you're using your time off, and that's a big deal.
I'm more than happy to. Like, but yeah, this was so much fun. I'm so glad. This was awesome. I mean, and thank you for like facilitating the conversation, because, you know, I don't talk about this a lot like outside of our community, and so like to be able to share it and have you kind of facilitating that conversation was very helpful. So hopefully folks learned, or maybe left with more questions that they can.
Good questions, though.
Yeah.
We want to inspire questions. I think that's the point of these streams for me is for one, okay, one of the main points that I love having people on here and doing these live streams is that I know that I don't know shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know how to operate a Dig Attack 2. Sure. But do I know how to make Yan Cook Techno or Circo Techno or Mycorrhiza Techno or whatever? I just don't. And so, like, to have people on here to explain it to me in person and then to share that explanation with other people is a powerful tool, I think. And that's how I'm getting, like, you know, it's cool to give back to the community, but also I'm getting. You know what I mean? I'm getting here. I'm earning. This is income for me. In a way, intellectual income.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So, and you gave me a lot, man. You filled me up with a lot of cool stuff. Cool. I'm working on this improv techno set, and when we're done here, that's what I'm gonna keep. Like, I'm gonna switch my machines out and get back to work, because man, you inspired me today.
Cool.
That's how I'm feeling.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always inspired by like the Modbang shows, and we'll usually go back home after a Modbang show, like here in Seattle, and we'll just kind of start working based on like what I was hearing, and you know, just like talking to the performers afterwards as well is always inspiring to hear those little tidbits of information about how people, you know, get to the stage there.
That's something that I don't think gets talked about. Like, you go and play a hardware show. I'm sure this is the same whether it's hardware or not. Like, you just go play a show, right? And you know this. Like, you talk to a band afterwards. It's different talking to a band afterwards, because it's a group, and like, you already know what's going on. Like, they're playing guitars and stuff, and it's like, what do you want to talk about? Like, your favorite scale or chord progression? But it's like, when it comes to these machines, you can go like, what's your setup?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then everybody has that conversation afterwards. that is one of the best parts of the whole show.
Yeah.
Is for the artists, like when everybody gathers and just says, use a dig effect? How?
Right.
What are you doing with it? Or use a Syntakt? Are you using the effects layers and all that kind of... It's just the coolest part.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you highlighted that difference between coming from like playing with bands and stuff, and yeah, like if you're a guitarist, maybe we could talk about pedals and stuff.
Right.
But like
Or guitars.
or
amps.
guitars, yeah. But and that's also great. Like it's part of the community building of any sort of music community is if you're in a similar genre, then you learn about performance techniques and other little tips and tricks and stuff. But it's great with this because you're speaking like with an individual, and a lot of times maybe a benefit that's not talked about as well is that this doesn't take long to set up and tear down. If you're a band and you have a band before you and after you, you're taking 15 minutes to switch everything over very quickly, and you're like, your heart is racing, you're stressed out trying to make sure you're not taking up space for the next band. With this, you get to just like talk to the people as they're tearing down.
Right. Everybody's setting up together.
Yeah. So I don't know. Another side benefit of being able to chat with the actual like performers.
Yeah, it's fun. Hardware electronic music is a really good time. Actually, I have a question. So, like, when you're moving from song to song, are you using any sort of transitional effects, or are you just kind of like, you just go into the next pattern?
So the way I kind of look at these patterns is more as kits, and I know that I could use kits on here to.
I haven't, like, and I'm going to, I think in this next show, like, I'm going to implement you actually saving my kit and using a kit and reloading kit and stuff like that.
I have some on here. It's not as intuitive of a workflow for me right now because prior to doing more of the improv techno stuff, I was doing some more kind of prepared individual patterns and using the Octatrack as the primary means of transitioning between, using effects to transition between patterns. I will still kind of do the same thing. I would say with this kind of techno, it leans kind of on the hypnotic side of things. And the transitions are kind of more sound design, like on the actual elements that you're transitioning to and from. So like if I have, like these are my kind of lead tracks right here. If I wanted to transition between these two tracks, then maybe I'll do some changes and fade something out while I'm fading another thing in. I wasn't using it too much on this, like when I was playing earlier, but using the mixer pages to kind of transition between elements would be another way that I would do that. But between patterns, I'm mostly keeping similar kick sounds. There's no problem with
staying in like the same tempo.
Yeah, I'm using the same tempo. I think I'm at 140.
I'm at 140 for my set.
Yeah, I'm at 140 for this. I have done sets where I've like just decided to
crank it.
Yeah. And yeah, so really the transitions are between kits, and then that's kind of more of a less like I don't know how to describe it, but less of like an impactful transition and more of like a subtle kind of like, oh, we're introducing new elements. If on the OXI, like if I wanted to have different patterns and different keys, I would kind of do the same thing. Like I would fade in things in a different key while fading out things in the old key.
Right.
So
really,
yeah, you can kind of do that.
You would keep the notes from other keys.
So
fading it from each other.
I did that in my last show, and I will say in my last show I learned.
I mean,
a lot.
You could nail it if you luck out on what notes are playing and they're from the same key, but
well, I don't necessarily want them to. I want them to hear almost like a DJ. Like if you make a transition from one key to another, you don't always necessarily have to have them right on. And a lot of the stuff that I'm making is like has some tonality, but it's also like just a couple of notes, so they fit with more.
Right. Even
keys.
If they're not in the same key, they kind of like make a diminished chord or some weird shit.
Or I can just choose two elements that aren't pitched either.
That's okay. So here's like just my take on transitions, just for discussion, and maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help you. Maybe you'll help me in this way. But my take on transitions partly is, for one, I like to use a recording, or I like to use an effect. Like I use the performance template to like, much more significantly than what was displayed today.
Yeah.
But we weren't even setting clock. But
Right.
When I think of transitions, I like to think of like, so say I'm moving from one song to another and they're in different keys.
Mhm.
I could either do what you did or what you mentioned where you had like some of the notes still playing that were like melody and melody. What I like to do is I will remove melody from one and drop one. The transition I'm going to, I'll just have the drums play. And so this will just be melody, and then I'll mash those drums and the melody together
Yeah.
before I drop the melody. And but there's no melody from the new song. So it's one or the other.
Yeah.
I pick. And then I'll also try and EQ them too. That's something I'm trying to work into my workflow more. But that I think that's what I try to do. Is that kind of similar to what you try to do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and certainly in the past, that's almost exactly what I would do. Is like if I had tracks that I was like that had a structure, like more or less, or they were at least more structured than what I was doing here, then yes, I would like bring in percussion and drums from one track, and then like fade out a melody and then bring in a new melody.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Totally it. Yeah, yeah. And then for this, it's like today I didn't have multiple keys, so it would change if I have different keys as well. And I might try to have like I'm not sending pattern change either, so like I'm changing the patterns individually on these things because I want to have like some things clashing with
Actually,
others.
I thought about this as I was. Can I touch for a second?
Please.
I was looking at this. So like what I'm doing in my sets, and it makes you have to change patterns manually because the digatone is what I'm using, and the digatone always falls behind for whatever reason when doing transitions in the way that I do it. And that is that I changed my pattern, my master length to infinity, and I used the change length instead. And that way I can do 13 of 16 and it never resets on the 128.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's a really
Then
great
you can,
idea.
like, stay
And you
in
get
techno, but there's something about the reset time that is actually really nice sounding musically because it makes you feel like you're on the spot. You can get lost in a 13
oh, for sure.
that hits, it's always doing 13s.
Yeah.
And so like maybe if your ear's counting from that 13 and you're trying to do a transition, you may feel a moment incorrectly.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. And honestly, like for a hypnotic techno set, putting it to infinity and just having your change length set would be perfect because the idea, for me at least, the idea of a hypnotic techno set is to lose the audience, right? To have the audience
Just, like,
lose.
fall
Yes.
into-
Like
Yeah.
it's supposed to, like, you're not supposed to have an exact, like, okay, here's the one of, the 16th bar. Now I'm going to do the transition. You kind of like want to get
You
people
kinda,
a little
they don't even
lost.
like think about the music anymore.
No. And that's the most like freeing thing of it, right?
Right.
It's a really cool, like as an audience member, it's a very cool experience to hear someone perform that. And even like with DJ sets, like with people playing hypnotic techno,
Yeah.
like at a set, it's a really cool genre, like subgenre of techno that I really enjoy.
I really want to get more into. I found myself really into minimal and like just I really like minimal partly because I like those kind of just short staccato decay
Yeah.
sounds, like those click tick tick click, and finding rhythms and like clicky type sounds with less tonality. And you can also add like a little bit of chordal elements in minimal,
Right.
and it will fit in a way that's still like okay. Trance stuff I haven't played with too much. I've gotten into the rumble thing, like what you're doing. I'm in this set is what I've been focused on personally lately, and so I'm trying to glean as much from you and your workflow as possible to help me, because I'm like, there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I feel like I'm not hitting the moment right, and I felt like you have really been nailing those moments during this performance, and so I feel like I think I may have gotten what I needed.
Yeah.
Just take from your soul, but yeah, man. Stellar setup, stellar workflow, excellently presented, beautiful sounds. I'm loving, like, I think I really like watching you on the OXI more than some. There's a lot of artists right now that I feel like Circo maybe inspired a massive amount of people that watch YouTube and then buy machines, because I feel like he got the OXI into like it just a lot of people did after that. And I don't know if it's Circo who did it or not, but that's where my brand, I'm correlating it to that. But I love watching you on here. I feel like you are using this more than most artists that I'm seeing using the OXI when they're doing this method. Because to me, I have felt like this was sacrilege.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
I thought
like
so,
the
right?
Elektron sequencer is the best sequencer on the planet to me.
Yeah.
And the M8 sequencer. Like those two sequencers to me I consider to be like, to me the instrument is the sequencer. I'll throw that out there.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about these. This is the sequencer. So no longer is the Syntakt an instrument, it's just a synthesizer.
Right.
Straight up. This is the instrument now, replacing this one. And that I'm able to compartmentalize now, but like a year ago when OXI came out, I could not. And I had a really hard time with this idea of using another sequencer to sequence what I considered the best sequencer.
Yeah.
But you do it really well, and it has functionality that this doesn't have in a very good way for this like improv techno.
Right. There's trade-offs. And the big trade-off for not using this sequencer is having parameter locks. That's difficult for me to do live quickly. Like I can try, and actually we didn't talk about it too much today, but this was kind of the hack around using live parameter locking is setting, they're not trigless trigs. What are these called again?
Just trig lock.
Yeah, trig locks. For a kick pattern, can I just show this real quick?
Yeah. Whatever you want.
So I have this 4 on the floor pattern. If I were to add another trigger in here, it's at the same volume, same amplitude, everything. Like has the same envelope, and it's a little
too much.
If you use a trig lock and you set it to have a shorter decay envelope, lower lower filter, and then like a less volume, then you can kind of use them as trig mutes, right? Like for specific locked sounds. And so you can kind of just do it on all these.
I wish we should have talked about this earlier, because this was such a gold mine. Such a gold mine tip, because when you told me about it immediately, I was like, damn, that's a really great idea. Let me see if I can reiterate it. Do some active listening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically what you do is you put in a parameter lock, you lock the value into whatever you want it to be. Then when you press it, it inserts an actual trigger to the sample.
Yes.
Right? And then when you hold function and do it, it undoes that action, but continues to keep the value there.
Yeah.
And that is a little goldmine secret.
Yes.
I like it.
The thing you have to be careful with is, remember we were trying the, this is a different rumble pattern, but the rumble pattern,
The muting.
yeah, is that if you have something with a long decay on several steps before it and you reduce the volume, then you will be ducking that volume. But to me it's worth it for like these like on the last 16th note of these beats right here, like on the 4, 12, 8, and 16, it gives you that kind of like just that lurch towards the next beat. Let's actually let's see what that sounds like right here. It's not really super noticeable, but
It's funny how in techno production, like throwing like the art of the 4 on the floor kick pattern is just like that. There's an art to 4 on the floor. It's so like the most obvious pattern on the planet.
Yeah,
but it's primal.
Right.
It is a pattern that we all know. You can move your body to it no matter what.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this alone gets
techno.
people moving.
Yeah, this is techno alone.
Yeah.
Something that I like, and I think I say this often, and I think I just want to know how it resonates with you, is I think of like when I'm trying to do live hardware music production and I what techno is to me is like you can play a techno pattern for a really long time and kind of like not bore your audience so much because their expectation is like techno.
Yeah.
When you start having, because it's atonal, that's my point, is the atonality.
Yeah.
So most of the music is atonal. If you were to play something more tonal and it had more melody that people could memorize, the amount of patterns you have to write, like triples, quadruples, in fact, because it's so, it's funny how one is so simple and the other one is so much more complex, but the one that's more complex is so much more boring to a listener if you don't write a lot of music.
Yeah.
There's a weird irony there.
It's the kind of subtlety of repetition, like what type of repetitive audiences can latch onto, and then what starts to kind of grate your ears.
Yeah.
and you know, for a lot of music, repetition can be a form of tension. And so if you have a melodic line that isn't changing too much and like the sound design isn't changing a lot, then that starts to feel tense for an audience and eventually unpleasant, like unpleasantly repetitive. But if you have these like shorter kind of hypnotic loopy lines and odd step lengths and step pattern lengths, then you get that kind of repetitive, like, yes, the sounds are kind of repetitive, but they're slowly evolving with LFOs. And then they're also like creating this hypnotic rhythm that you kind of can't latch on to.
Yeah.
And those things are satisfying because every part interacts with every other part differently at different points in a bar, basically.
Right.
So if you have like an 4-bar melodic pattern that just repeats every 4 bars, then it's boring.
Yeah. One of them, okay, this is like what happened in my head just now. Is
Yeah.
I was seeing like the Ableton timeline.
Yeah.
And like the melody stuff, it just literally has the loop segment.
Yeah.
Running. On techno, the timeline is actually going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that is very true about live hardware techno.
Yeah.
Is that it really is just the song goes on forever, and that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going through my brain. You got me feeling pretty inspired. Cool. Yeah, so thank you for coming on. I feel like this is a good spot for us to end it. We've been going for 2 hours, which is what I like to do. So
awesome.
Yeah, streams are typically 2 hours long. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. I do these live streams every Tuesday, sometimes a couple times a week. I love to have guests on. Today we had Mycorrhiza, aka Michael, friend of mine here in Seattle, an awesome music producer. If you're catching this right now, go back to the beginning because Michael taught us an absolute massive amount about live hardware techno with the Digitact, Syntakt, OXI-ONE. It was a really great time. Tons of tips and tricks in there. A massive amount. Like, really, you've filled us with knowledge. So, yeah, if you'd like to support this channel, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT. That helps put food on the table here and keeps me doing this and keeps me getting guests in here. And if you want to pick up stuff like risers or templates and stuff like that, you can visit modbang.com. If you want to play a Modbang show and you're local, there's mod@modbang.com. If you're in Portland, that's Blake's at modbang.com. If you're in Nashville, that's going to be Levi at modbang.com. So if you're in any of those places, you can play a Modbang show, get on the list and play some shows. And then lastly, before we go, because this is important, because this is my last stream before I go play my show, I need to do something really quick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into studio mode. I forgot to set this up beforehand. Upcoming shows.
Wow.
I didn't do this yet. Rack. I don't even know if I have it on the desktop. Do I? Yes, I do. Okay, and this other one we can mute. Cool. Okay. So, up and coming. There's a show. This is a show that I'm playing. This is the Synth and Pedal Expo in Portland. Find your way down here to see Puzzle Teeth, Eric Schlappy, me, and Production Unit Zero with some visuals by Arson Rivers. This is going to be a dope event. So yeah, so if you're going to be in Portland, come and check it out. It's going to be really, really loud.
That is a wild lineup. That's really cool.
It's gonna be a sick show. So I have a lot of music to write. I need to get cracking on it. But thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
You're the best. And I'll see y'all next week. Take it easy. You down to play us out?
Sure, let's do it. Let's
Dude.
see what this pattern's got.
Jam us out.
Rajan taking too many tranquilizers. Rajan taking too many tranquilizers. Rajan taking too many Rajan taking too many tranquilizers. Rajan taking too many
I don't know what this is. Lost this one.
pair of trackpads away